You're listening to the Miles Ahead podcast with Dr. Miles Graham Salisbury, where he shares tactics, techniques, and protocols to improve your physical, spiritual, and mental fitness in order to become self-led, grounded, and integrated.
And we're back with the Miles Ahead podcast. My friend Karden Rabin, almost got his last name wrong inadvertently. I just don't use Karden for so long. He is the author of this magical book, The Secret Language of the Body. And he's been a great friend and been checking in on me on all the sleep issues you all have heard about probably in the last few podcasts. And he did before we started recording, a really amazing, what do you call it, a meditation, or what do you call it? What did we just do? It was incredible.
Yeah, it definitely was. I wouldn't call it a meditation because we had you get deeply, deeply in touch through your body, what your autonomic nervous system is doing in anticipation of and in the presence of a trigger or stimuli that's threatening or not safe to you. So in that sense, you could call it a meditation, but I think meditation has such a connotation, one of being very cognitive and serene. This is about actually paying extraordinary attention to what's going on in the body. It is in like meditation. What's very similar about it is that it's a ton of attention, right? As opposed to thinking, it's a ton of attention, watching, witnessing, and then furthermore, though, is instead of just witnessing, we started to influence and shift your autonomic nervous system. So we can get more into it, but that's a bit more how I'd describe it.
Got it. Yeah, it was super helpful. It is getting out of the head, which is good for me because when I get to stuff that bothers me or worries, I get way into my head about problem solving, fix it, which probably just feeds back into my nervous system as panic, and exacerbates everything that you told my nervous system basically to stand down. Those are great words. Like, it's okay to relax. The whole thing was just like, whoa, I've never done anything like that before. That was really...
People are going to be like, why did you guys do that without us? We might lead a little something like that. But, Miles, I'm glad you said you've never done anything like that. I led a retreat at Kripalu a week or so ago. Mm-hmm. And at the outset of the retreat, I have a conversation with the people and I say, you are not here to, one, learn a bunch of bio or nervous system hacks, nor are you here to even just learn a bunch of techniques or protocols. You're going to be sorely disappointed if that's what you came for, although they did get some. I said, the best metaphor I can use for what's going to happen while you're here is what happens when you learn to ride a bike. And I take about 5 or 10 minutes to tease this out in the workshop or the retreat. But the answer to what happens when you learn to ride a bike is only one thing. You discover balance. It can't be given to you. You can't be taught how to get balance. Someone can say, here's the stuff you need to do a bunch of times over and over and over again. And then somehow randomly, within a couple days or weeks of trying, all of a sudden, your body knows how to balance on the bike. Forget pedals, forget steering, forget brakes. Once you have balance, you can essentially do anything you want on that bicycle, right? You can also do any kind of cycling you want. You could go road racing, you could go mountain biking, you could ride a unicycle if you wanted, right? And once you have it, you can intuit all different ways of using it. Mm-hmm. What most people don't understand is that you can learn how to have direct real-time agency over your autonomic nervous system. Real-time, direct agency over your autonomic nervous system through very attentive and very subtle things that aren't like, oh, I need to go do sauna and cold plunge to downregulate, right? Or, oh, I need to go exercise to discharge. I'm not saying any of those things are bad, but they're all treating your body like it's some kind of mechanism that needs to be put through certain experiences to shift, as opposed to you fucking driving, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I was, basically in the passenger seat next to you, showing you how to drive in this moment, right? Saying, try this, try this, try this. But the takeaway should be is like, whoa, Karden had me pay attention to a couple different things. And the first thing I got to notice was all the negative stuff my autonomic nervous system and body is doing in anticipation of the thing I'm afraid of. That was incredible, right? Then I just said, hey, try this thing called spreading and a little bit of this language and see if you can get and that autonomic nervous system, your activation and your fear dropped like 70% over the course of like 5 to 10 minutes. Agency, balance, driving your own autonomic nervous system. It still works great with all those other things we talked about, but that's what the book's about. That's what my work is about. It's you learning to actually have the hands on the steering wheel of your brain and body rather than always depending on outside things, whether it's Xanax or yoga. To me, they're on the same, there are different ends of the same spectrum of I'm looking for something other than my own agency to influence my body and mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, like we just said about not having to rely on something external, because often I do that. Yeah, got to do sauna, cold plunge, or workout, and those things do help. But being in your own driver's seat, that's the next level, and it's probably more natural, like more. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe we evolved to go stumble upon cold water, but maybe this is the next road in evolution. Is us taking over our internal landscapes and being in the driver's seat of our nervous system.
Believe it or not, I'd say it's more.
That.
Go ahead. First time you ever experienced that?
Probably doing Wim Hof breathing and then the Huberman physiological sigh and noticing the effects of it just by doing like breath work. That was probably the first time. And maybe a little bit of meditation, not really realizing that was what was going on. But
yeah.
If that makes sense or not. Anyways, where to begin? And I hope our connection doesn't rattle too much. It looks like my internet's doing funny things.
You're still coming. Good thing for me. I wanted to comment on, you said about going up in your head. One of the most common things I find, and this I think especially for men, is that when we're having some kind of experience of threat or problem, our default, and this is very practical, is to go into solve mode.
Yep.
And you can actually think of solve mode and thinking mode as sympathetic energy, right? A fight or flight, a productive survival response, trying to play itself out in your head. If I can think enough about this, solve it, figure it out, I'll get to where I need to go. Now, sometimes that obviously works. But when a man gets stuck in a situation where he feels under some kind of threat, can't solve it with action, can't solve it with thought, one, he gets very stuck because now he doesn't know what to do. I don't know how to, if I can't solve the thing, because that's the way I've fixed everything, then basically it's like a dude has like two fucking things in his quiver. I'm going to fix it and solve it, or I'm going to like masturbate and do drugs, right? Like they've got almost no other no other techniques in the toolbox for dealing with how problems and how we don't feel good. And then you're absolutely right, man, that then when it's in the head and it can't be solved, the head then becomes an echo chamber feeding back lack of safety, survival state back to the body. And then you're in this awful Arkanoid game. Wait, hold on. Most people listening won't know what Arkanoid is. You're in a terrible tennis match where both sides are throwing more and more balls at each other, none of which are improving the situation. Body and mind, body and mind, body and mind.
That really tracks. Yeah, it's like you send your mind on a mission that it can't solve, and it comes back as the mission was not safe. We couldn't solve it. and then we're just all spun out. And what's the easiest thing to do is use numbing agents. It's like that's.
Yeah.
I mean, women probably do it too, but I think men, that's like like you said, you got two arrows in the quiver, and those are the ones we reach to the most. And they often really don't. I mean, sometimes they work, but to our detriment. If that's all we got, that's not very many arrows. What if you run out of arrows? What's gonna happen?
We need a lot more arrows in that quiver, man.
Yes. So what kind of arrows can we put back? Can we craft and put in the quiver, especially for men who get in the space?
I think that, a good defense is the best offense, right? So how does that translate? Your listeners are going to know this, and if they're not, then they're going to know it now, and don't argue with me.
Well, you are an expert, so yeah, they can take it or leave it.
Which is that I'd say the vast majority of the things that a man experiences as threatening to himself are actually not legitimate, clear, and present dangers or threats. And that a lot of his discomfort or fear or rage response in his body is the result of wounds, injuries, and stresses and shit that happened to him when he was a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first things we can do is, I'll give this example. I think when my wife historically, when she got angry, before I knew any of this stuff, I would basically, I think, use 3 strategies. The first one is the first quiver we just talked about, which is I'm going to try to solve her problem. This could not be more stereotypical, right? I'm going to try to solve her problem.
Yep.
And then what usually happens, because most of the time us men are not successful at solving her problem in that moment, if we're unsuccessful, we get frustrated, and then we go to one of 2 options. One is attack. Fuck you, you dumb bitch. Like, I'm trying to help you here. Listen to me. Like, this is, and then we literally get angry. Like, this is your own problem. You know what? Fuck off. I'm not even going to try. All right?
Yeah.
Okay? You clearly don't want to be helped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? So and then the last option, which either happens first or happens after the fuck off, is I'm out. I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm going to the basement. I'm gonna go play a video game. I'm gonna get on my phone. I'm out. Right? You get your shit together, and then you come back to me.
Yeah.
So before I knew this worked, that's what I did. Then I started doing this work, and I was still doing that. But then I started to really do the work and slow things down. And this is really important, guys. We got to slow things down, like get into the slow-mo instant replay referee camera view of our body and our reactions to see why we're actually behaving the way we're behaving. So when you slow it down and get into the body, when my wife got angry, but the first thing that happens in my body is that my chest gets tight, my heart rate would increase, and for lack of a better word, I would feel uncomfortable. And for a more accurate word, as an adult man, I would feel scared and like I wanted to go away. And if every man here slows shit down and slows it down like an arrow coming at them, if they can imagine their partner's anger or insult or shame as like an arrow coming at them,
like the Matrix.
Like the Matrix, right? We're going into bullet time. You'll start noticing that before you tell her to fuck off or even try to help her, that your body reacts in some kind of protective or an unpleasant way. Guys, we all know that you come into your house and you're putting your stuff down, and based on within the first 10 seconds of how you're greeted or not greeted, you already know what you're walking into.
Fuck yeah.
Okay? So, you walk in and you don't get that like sweet little hello, especially if wife's been home with the kids all day.
Danger.
The first, you're like, fuck, danger. Oh, shit. And you're like, it's not even your fault, but you're in red alert. and you know it's going to become your fault.
Yeah.
So back to a defense being a good offense.
All right.
These legacy responses that we're having in our autonomic nervous system, that we're having in our body to our wife being upset with us, or not even being upset with us, just being upset. That's really important because so often it doesn't even start at us. They're just in some negative place.
That happened today.
Right. Well, before we were men, every one of us was a boy.
Mm.
And when we were boys, our moms were very important to us.
Mm.
They were also bigger than us and stronger than us and scarier than us.
Mm-hmm.
And our biological security was dependent on, essentially, the regulation, well-being, presence, and okayness of mommy.
Yeah, good call.
There is no exception to this.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose unless you didn't have a mommy, but then it would be a different attachment figure. So like there's really no there's no exception to this. It's just different, you know?
Yeah, an attachment figure of some sort means
Right.
safety.
And as a child, your options are limited. You can't self-soothe in any holistic way. There's no you to go like, don't worry, mom's just upset because of this, and it's not about you. There's none of that.
Exactly.
It's only me. It's got to be about me. I'm feeling not good in my body because mommy's angry, or she's depressed, or she's pulled away from me, or she's told me I'm bad. And that awfulness, that feeling in the body is an arrow in your chest.
Mm.
And as a kid, you panic. How do I get this arrow out of my chest? Well, you have a limited amount of options. One of the first ones is, let me help mommy.
Problem solve. Yeah.
Let me problem solve for mommy. Let me be a good boy. Let me take care of her. Let me totally inappropriately become her soothing figure.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
If I can do that and I can get mommy to be happy again, then I'll feel safe. You don't do this consciously, but that's what you're doing. Right? Or that never works and you actually learn to just go to your room. You're not getting soothed, but at least you're not directly in the presence of the arrows anymore. I'm just going to go isolate.
Yeah, I'm not getting shot at. I'm taking space. I still feel I still feel scared, but at least I'm a little bit safer in some fleeing sort of way.
Exactly, Miles. And so I'm going to really boil it down here. The vast majority of the negative behaviors that men express is because they're having experiences in their body. And I am not being metaphorical. I'm being fucking literal, guys. I'm talking about goddamn arrows. I really am. When you slow down and start feeling this, it feels like actual physical pain, not just emotional pain, not just psychic pain. It feels like physical pain.
Mm.
And it's physical pain that was lodged in the body at an age where you did not have your present pain tolerance as a man.
Oh,
okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
You slow down. You start tuning in to the pain response, the fear response in your body around 9 out of 10 of the triggers you experience in your life. You will start realizing that 9 out of 10s in the things in your life you don't have to problem solve for. You don't have to avoid. They're not even fucking about you. What you have to start, quote, problem solving for is how do you learn to deal with the uncomfortable sensations in your body, how to discharge them, soothe them, and integrate them so that you don't have to go do a negative behavior to solve your internal state of badness. So I've done a bunch of training. I actually call it emotional cold plunging, by the way, to deal with my wife's anger. I've actually done a lot of training where I've deliberately gone into how deeply uncomfortable I feel when she's angry. I'll do this as a visualization, an imaginary practice before the actual moments. So I get start to get familiar with the discomfort and being able to be okay with it. And then also I've literally, like I'm going into the octagon, I treat opportunities when my wife loses her shit to be with my own incredible discomfort and not yield. Meaning, what does not yielding mean? I stay with it and I don't go into trying to solve her problems. I don't go into attacking and I don't go into avoiding. I stay with my own uncomfortable feelings. I stay grounded And then I'm able to do literally what our women want most of the time, which is, sweetie, that sounds like it's really hard. Is there anything you need from me?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
That's my training. And so as a man can learn to track his own deep discomfort and no longer be subjugated by it or dominated by it, those are the most, that's numero uno.
That's huge. I think you just saved like 100,000 relationships in the in the East Coast area. Another thing I learned from your book, allostatic load and nervous system paradox, like where the nervous system sort of flips. Maybe you can unpack that one for people.
Yeah. We already, in a way, we already touched on it, talking about that terrible volley between mind and body, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of it becomes a self-reinforcing mechanism of like self-destruction, right? So
Totally. Yeah.
allostatic load is the fancy medical or scientific term for the cumulative effect of stress on your organism's ability to take care of itself. So, I'll stick with that. And so as you're dealing with, for example, unresolved trauma from the past, that's part of the cumulative load, right? As you're dealing with, let's say, financial stressors, relational stressors, or even, let's say, illness stressors, like you've got Lyme disease or Epstein-Barr or whatever. All of those things, from the past to money to relational stressors to biological stressors like infections, even being fucking dehydrated, add to the allostatic load.
Okay.
It is the same biological system trying to maintain homeostasis and well-being while basically feeling more and more and more under attack and on a war footing. Under attack and on a war footing. Analogy that I like to use as well, this is not a political commentary, it's just a reality commentary. The more money you spend on defense spending, the less money you have to spend on domestic healthcare policies, right? It's a matter of just math and accounting, right?
Resource. Yeah.
Just resources, right? For those who are really conservative, one of the reasons why Europe was able to have the social safety net that it has is because it's had the United States pay for its military for 75 years, which was okay. That was part of the plan, by the way, though. That was deliberately done. Anywho, point being is that you have more money for a healthcare system when you don't have to have a huge defense system.
Yep.
Needless to say, and this is just an analogy and metaphor for our listeners, if your body is under a huge amount of stress and threat all the time and carrying unresolved trauma from the past, it's basically on a war footing most of the time. And it's deploying more and more of its energy and resources, neurologically, immunologically, hormonally, you name it, to defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has a lot less for just like heart health or like making sure your gut's okay or and making sure that your immune system functions more optimally.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the paradox is that as allostatic load increases, as stress and threat increases, the nervous system doubles down on the stress response. It fires off more stress response, more anxiety, more survival response to deal with what's going on. And so just like volleying back and forth, it says, oh, I've got anxiety. Let me produce more anxiety. Let me produce more stress. Let me produce more sympathetic fight or flight energy to solve the problem. But then that increases the experience of stress in the body, and it becomes a brutal loop that the very mechanisms that were designed to help you survive threat are now destroying you.
Hence the nervous system paradox.
Hence the nervous system paradox. And hence what we just said is that a big part of it is that a big part of the healing process is realizing that we interrupt the nervous system paradox. Or no, let me back up and say that often what's keeping you sick or unwell is now at that point just the nervous system paradox. Like the realities of your life are probably not life-threatening, even though they might be stressful. You might not even be in the most stressful situation in your life. You could have been like 4 years ago was a lot worse, but God, I've never been sicker. And it's because your nervous system is no longer responding to reality or what you're dealing with in the present. It's just stuck in an ever higher cycle of basically defense and alarm. We have to forcibly interrupt that process and create safety for the nervous system to start standing down.
That makes sense. We build a healthcare system.
We have to build a healthcare system. Yeah, we have to build a healthcare system. We have to build like some safety and some pleasure. We have to help the veterans realize that the war, at least there's no active war right now, and that like we need to know what it's like to live in peacetime.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, speaking of veterans, there's a cool part in the book where you found out that doing meditation with vets eyes closed versus eyes open was a very different experience. And I was trained eyes open meditation, but it totally made sense. When they closed their eyes, it actually made them more hypervigilant because, if they're still in the battle in their mind, that's danger. You got to be on the lookout. So once you had them open their eyes, they're able to go into the meditation. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, exactly. Closed eyes turned off their vigilance system and spiked their danger system, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then when we not only pivoted to open eyes, but we actually did what's called a 5 senses meditation, where we indulged the visual system. We really looked around. We indulged the auditory system. Like instead of being in your head, let's actually listen to the fact that we're on top of a mountain in the Catskills, right? Feel the rock and the soil underneath you, right? Feel your fellow man next to you. Use your damn survival apparatus to register the fact that you're not in a danger right now,
you're
right?
Safe.
And then all of a sudden their systems stand down because their autonomic nervous system's connected to reality, not what they're replaying in their head or body. Reality says, there's some chickadees out here going chickadee-dee-dee-dee-dee. There's actually a nice smell of pine. The weather's good. My eyes are open. I'm at the top of the mountain. I'm with my brothers. Mm-hmm. But if you don't specifically tell your brain to direct its attention to something other than its recycling of crisis, it will always recycle the crisis. You must interrupt it. That's why we teach the AIR technique in the brain, or the AIR approach, AIR: awareness, interruption, and redesign. Awareness, interruption, and redesign. Your brain is a pattern recognition and habit repetition machine. It is a pattern recognition and habit repetition machine. It's designed to be that way, and it will not change out of wartime to peacetime, if you will, without you specifically interrupting that fucking thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd imagine that goes for every human, but especially for PTSD.
Yes, for every human, especially PTSD. And, if we extend the conversation with veterans a little bit longer, they have hundreds of hours to be trained killers.
Yeah.
And to survive. Hundreds of hours, if not thousands, right?
Focus on the threat, solve the threat, work the problem.
And extraordinarily effective and adaptive for the assignment.
Yep.
Then, when it comes to returning to civilian life, how much training do they get in reach? How much training do they get in shifting their nervous system out of hundreds of hours of that training?
They get like a worksheet on how to go get a new job.
Right. They get a worksheet. And
it's so fucked up, dude. The VA barely helps. Like they do a terrible job about reintegrating into society.
Exactly. And so instead of the folks that are listening, if you happen to be a veteran, some of this resonates with you, like you're not broken and there's really nothing's being done wrong. Your brain is doing an exceptional job of applying training that for one situation that's completely incompatible to the current mission of peacetime, right?
Yes.
And if someone, in the same way that you had to be trained to do the job, you need to be trained to do a different job. And that's autonomic, it's neurological, it's in the body, it takes time, but it's totally possible. You also don't lose the edge either, by the way. You just lose the cracked out edge.
Yeah, that's a good. I think a lot of veterans will love to hear that because they're afraid of losing. Yeah, they're afraid of losing their skill set. But that's a great way to put it. That it's just not the cracked out version. It's just like, I can still do this, but
we're not going to erase any of that training. We can't. It's in there. It's just we're taking the finger off the trigger, right? Like we're just putting where it's supposed to be. We're putting the safety on. Like it's about discretion and choice.
There we go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Getting your personal power back. And a lot of trauma recovery is reclaiming your power over what happens. That helps to heal. So that fits. Yeah, that really fits.
And this is the other thing that I'll say, the last bit. And this is where it gets really tough. Is that no one can do this to you. So what I mean by that is you don't do this alone. You need teachers, therapists and such. All these things help. But in the same way that we started out this podcast, no one can give you balance and no one can give you the desire to want to ride a bike. You have to have the desire, the drive. Like, I don't know about all of you. Like, I remember how badly I wanted to ride a bike. And I still remember, like, it was especially in the home that I grew up that I didn't want to be part of. The bike was freedom.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
It was freedom. It was mobility. It was speed. I still say that I think riding a bicycle is the closest thing to flying on the ground, right?
Yep.
I wanted it. I wanted it so bad that I went over and over again. I scraped my knees and I hurt myself, right? So, and then you also have to, it's a self-led process, even if you have teachers and even if you have training wheels. So the biggest challenge in this work is, other than not knowing what to do, it's letting go of the belief that someone needs to fix you.
Okay. Yeah, because that's ceding your power to somebody else.
It's ceding your power. And it's also like, come on, like this is the thing that I think is crazy. I get it when you don't know what to do. But when people go, especially let's just talk about men for a second. Okay, whether you're a veteran or not. Even if a man, bear with me here, didn't know how to change a tire, right? If he blew his tire on the highway, and let's just say AAA wasn't available, he would not sit there being like, I guess I'm fucked and I need to wait here until somebody comes along to change his tire.
Without
the
asking.
Guy,
yeah.
What's that?
Without asking, just
right, without asking. Just sitting there. He would be like, you know what? F this. I think I can figure this out. He'd open up his trunk, he'd sort it out. So, in almost any situation where a man is presented with a problem, he will usually try to solve it before he goes for help.
Stereotypically, yeah.
But most men, when it comes to their physical health, like their heart disease or their weight, or their mental health, they actually rarely start off with, what can I do about this and how can I solve it? Their first instinct is, I'm going to go to the doctor, I'm going to surrender all my agency, and they're basically going to say, do me.
Yeah, fix me. Yep.
Right? Or they're just going to hide it. Now I'm not going to go for any help. I'm not going to solve this, but I'm also not going to go for any help. Right?
Or that. Yeah.
And it's just it's these two polarities. And it's like, no, men, you need to treat the project of healing your nervous system like riding that bike, like fixing that tire. You need some instructions. You need some right knowledge. You need some people to help. But ultimately, like, no one's going to do it but you.
Yes. That's a key point. Getting someone to get there is the hard part. But if you have a significant other in your life, they're probably going to harp on you to do it in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Helpful. Another part in the book I thought was cool is there's so many cool diagrams and like practices you can do in the book. So get the book. There was this one picture of the body and it was like trauma equals surviving, pain equals anger, depression equals overwhelm, and anxiety equals abandonment. And the depression equal overwhelm one was like, man, that I never thought of it that way before. Like being depressed came from maybe being overwhelmed. I would have thought anxiety, but There wasn't. It was abandonment. It was anxiety. You know what figure I'm talking about in the book?
I do know what figure you're talking about.
That just really stuck out to me.
Yeah. So I just want to say it's not like a one-to-one sort of thing, guys. I just want to say that it's not meant to be like depression is always overwhelmed. But what it's meant to say is before you start developing the awareness to understand the signals from your body, someone will have given you the label of you're depressed. You're depressed. And then you did a little, maybe then someone said, well, it's because of your brain chemistry that you're depressed. Okay. So now once again, there's a reason beyond your agency for why you are the way you are. When you actually start developing your awareness of your autonomic nervous system, which let's actually put this way, guys. This is more, I like to put it in KPI language sometimes. KPI, for those of you, most of you know, key performance indicators, right?
Corporate speak.
Corporate speak. And if someone in a business meeting said, we're $500,000 in the red, and everyone just went, okay, that'd be like saying you're depressed. But no one would ever do that. They'd be like, we're $500,000 in the red, and they'd be like, okay, great. What's going on? Let's start listening to the business. Let's start looking at these spreadsheets. Let's start seeing what's going on with our teams. Oh, what's going on is that our sales tactics aren't working anymore, and we're overspending over here, and our competitors are up. Like, you're going to find some details in the data. When you start feeling into depression, we'll go over the obvious ones. There's usually low energy. There's a sense of hopelessness. Right? But there's also language in the brain. There's apathy. There's, I can't do this. There's, this is too much, right? I can't do this and this is too much. Huh. Then we go, why? Oh my God, I feel overwhelmed. Oh, how interesting.
Yeah,
there's a huge feeling of overwhelm here. Great. Now we can start working with it. Why am I overwhelmed? And then, by the way, a lot of this goes from childhood. It's just like literally the amount of things I'm responsible for, the burdens I'm carrying, they are too much. Oh, okay, wow. Then it's like, where did these burdens come from? What are they? We start getting in there. We're like, wow, this system's depressed because it's under the perception, and often very rightly, at least from the past, that it has been tasked with an unwinnable mission. Okay? Now we layer on the polyvagal theory, guys. Now let's layer on a little bit more of the nervous system. We've been talking about sympathetic fight or flight, sympathetic fight or flight, sympathetic fight or flight. But that's not the only the only program in your survival nervous system. The other part of your program, guys, is what we call the dorsal vagal response. What's the dorsal vagal response? If the most characteristic thing of fight or flight is literally screaming, running into the street and getting hit by a truck in panic, right? Or losing your shit and beating the crap out of someone. If that's the most stereotypical of fight or flight, the most stereotypical of dorsal is when someone faints when the doctor comes in to take their blood.
Like a collapse.
It's a collapse response. This is not some malfunction in the system. It's the last-ditch effort of your animal nervous system to not die. Why? Where did it come from? Predators, 1, tend not to see prey that don't move. 2, predators tend to be less interested in prey that they think are dead because predators and scavengers are different animals. Okay?
Correct.
3, there's this really nice gift. If you're going to get fucking eaten alive, wouldn't it be great to be unconscious instead of having to experience your own agony? Now, fainting is the extreme version of the dorsal vagal response. But low mood, depression, burnout, chronic fatigue, hopelessness, these are someone who's in instead of being in a sympathetic dominated response, they're in a dorsal dominated response. And essentially, They tried to use fight or flight, sympathetic activity to solve their problems. But either those burdens were too big, or they were there for too long, or actually they started too early, like when you were too little.
Yes.
And your brain and body, instead of being on a war footing forever, like an active at arms footing, has actually been more at a, we're in a bunker, buried, waiting for this stuff to stop response.
Fucking trench warfare or something.
Deep. Now, I don't know. It's like we heard the nuclear alarm klaxons. We're 100 meters under the earth, and we don't even know it's safe to come out.
We're just hiding.
Or every time we check for news, instead of seeing reality, we see the news from the past, and we're like, nope, I'm going to stay down here in my nuclear foxhole. So this is what we're saying, is that on the surface, it's depression. We say the neurochemistry that they can measure is not because you're not depressed because of your neurochemistry. Your neurochemistry is doing what it's doing because you're in a dorsal dominated shutdown state. And everything else we see, from low mitochondrial function to mixed up neurochemistry, all of that is because the brain is saying, no, I'm in a bunker. We teach people, when people who do somatic experiencing, polyvagal informed therapy, we work on getting someone out of the bunker safely. We work on getting the nervous system to no longer depend on the dorsal pathway. We help someone all of a sudden reclaim the healthy, positive aspects of their sympathetic energy system. We help them realize all these sorts of things. And so that's what we mean. When you depression, overwhelm, we start looking at the KPIs, we start looking at the details, and whoa, there are reasons for this. And when you start dealing with the reasons and the elements, real change happens.
So that's so huge. It's like, we think we're depressed and it's neurochemical, but that's just obeying a response from the nervous system. It's not some sort of just brain only. It's doing its job basically, just in a haywire kind of way.
The brain's perception is king, and the brain's perception precedes neurochemistry, is the way we'd put it in most cases.
Okay.
And the brain, I like to say this, it's a binary. If it's 0 and 1 programming language, is always safe, unsafe, or safe, danger, safe, danger, safe, danger, safe, danger, safe, danger, safe, danger, safe, danger. Even in your own biochemistry. So for example, when someone has an allergy to something, that's the brain saying danger, and then we're launching a huge autoimmune response to that, right?
Got it. Okay.
And so we start working with those 0s and 1s and moving a brain out of a dominant state of danger, 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 and all sorts of magical shit just starts working in the body again.
I love it. So it's the same with anxiety, abandonment, trauma, surviving, pain, anger. It's a similar move, just different.
Similar moves, right? If we went into anxiety, once again, let's go back to men being in their behaviors when their partners are angry. Underneath the anger is usually actually an anxiety, a fear, a uncomfort in the body, because unfortunately our brain, pattern recognition, habit, repetition, sees our closest female partner as our mother. Not all the time, but like that's part of the mapping, right?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so once our autonomic nervous system seeing our primary partner as our mother, if our primary partner becomes angry, that all of a sudden makes us feel unsafe, right? Danger, danger, danger. That's going to turn on some fear. That's going to turn on some anxiety, right? I'm going to be like, whoa, actually a lot of my anxiety when I go underneath the surface is actually these very present fears of separation, of not being cared for, of rupture from parent. That's all of a sudden been mapped onto my wife, my primary relationship. Oh my God. But then you can start working with that. So yeah, each one of these things has a lot of, it can keep going.
Yeah, it's incredible. I want to marry like the fields of psychology with the fields of the body and the nervous system more. We've been siloed off for so long, but I think it's coming around and they have a lot to teach each other. And this is kind of where they intersect, which I think is super important. Another cool thing in your book was inner child work. And you name that just amazing African proverb: the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. I love that. That's so good.
A huge amount of my You have to be quite, as in my opinion, you have to be quite the man to own up to how much you are owned by the inner emotions of a child.
Yeah, and I think men don't like that, but it's so fucking true. That there are so many wounded ages of your inner child inside of you.
Correct. And so, like, I largely now measure much of my masculine success at my capacity to, without shame, own the reality of that when I get triggered or I'm behaving the way I don't want to behave, that I reject all of the rationales, all of the rightness in my head, all of the explanations, that I reject trying to protect myself. And I look as fast as possible for the inner child that's freaking out. And then I view another big correlate to the level of my masculinity and my power as a man, my ability to, as quickly as possible, then care for that inner distress through inner child work being one of the sort of therapeutic approaches. And realizing that when I can bring, like, at the uncivilized initiation, we get that coin from Traver, the challenge coin, which I keep with me all the time, that says,
it's a good one.
Let others be safe, for I walk among them. Right? Well, the first place that I did is like, let my own inner experience, let my own inner child, let my traumas from the past, let them be safe, because I, as a man, as a true self, as someone who's awakened, fucking takes care of myself. And there's both like a softness and a structure to it, right? To quote Dewey, the softness is the compassion and love of a father for a distressed anything, right? Like a child, an animal, like for a man to be able to bring safety and comfort to fear. And the second thing is just like the mastery, like, oh my God, I am fucking mastering my own urges and impulses built on the distress of a child. It's better than a PR, dude.
Yeah, it feels amazing when that little kid inside you gets some power back or something changes.
Yeah, exactly. But also it feels like a thrill. It's like I could have gone and run a marathon and felt successful, but when I actually turn towards my inner distress, take care of it, and then I don't react like an asshole to my wife, and I didn't have to rationalize shit, and I got to be who I wanted to be, I feel like a god.
Yeah, and a lot of energy saved too.
Totally. Right? So I really wanted to point that out, that's where why the inner child work is so crucial. And until you learn how to take care of the tantrum inside,
good way to put it.
Not through domination, through the best of a father.
Don't kick him in the balls. Yeah.
Don't kick him in the balls. Love and lead, love and lead, love and lead. And it starts inside.
Yeah, I think those of us who are fathers, it's sort of a little bit easier to do because you imagine your own kids, and it's so easy to like, oh, my daughter's having a hard time, let me take a knee. But when it's yourself, you just kick yourself in the balls and beat yourself up. It's like, wait a second, I shouldn't be doing that.
I can take care of them, but I'm a piece of shit, and I need to get it together.
Yeah, what the hell? I guess that's a good segue into our work with our lovely mentor Traver Bohm. We've been doing a lot of work with him, and I just hope every man can get a chance to do the men's initiation to men uncivilized. Do you want to share your experience? Phil Horning and I did a podcast on our experience right like the day after we got back. We were still like in a liminal space, and probably the podcast didn't make a whole lot of sense. Now that we're integrated, what came up for you? What do you remember? What has it caught up to you? What you went through? Because you did a really amazing piece that I had the privilege of being a part of with Traver. And I also do get credit for introducing you to Jiu-Jitsu. So
yes, he does. Thank you, Miles. I'm literally going right after this.
Fuck yeah. If you get a black belt, you get to say you're a Miles black belt. It's like Jocko, whoever he got into jiu-jitsu, you say like, oh, now I'm a Jocko blue belt. I'm a Jocko brown belt.
Oh,
So
excellent.
you get to say you get to say I'm a Miles black belt once you.
I'm going to do that for you. I really am.
I get credit.
So, yeah, I think we can actually. There's so many things I can go into, but I think we'll start with that piece. Actually,
Cool. The
All right.
Gestalt we did.
Yeah. So, guys, just in terms of this piece, I was in it, so I kind of like. I have very little narrative memory of it, but I have some, and I also remember what folks on the outside said. But if you can imagine me with Miles and Traver and maybe a little more backup, and that there was basically a moment where I was invited to release all of my power, all of my energy, all of my anger, to like its maximum. I don't know if savagery is the right, and I'm going to use its most unbridled form, unchecked, unrestrained.
Mm-hmm.
But while knowing that, like Miles and Traver, and if there are any other men there, like they could take me, right? Like
Safe place, yeah.
Safe
power
place.
Can be met with power.
Safe place for maximum power to be met with containment. And why I think this is important for a lot of men, and what I want to say about this is that one of the main reason why men don't go and ask for help is that their lived and learned experience is not only is there no help, but the only success I've had is through my own help, my own power. Like, men have the illusion, and it's through their lived experience, that there's basically nothing stronger or better than them. When it comes down to it, their own strength is the only thing they can rely on. When you believe that, when you know that in your bones to be true, in one sense, you can be very effective, you can be very self-resourced, you can be a great lone wolf and warrior, and you get a tremendous amount done on your own. On the other hand, you are permanently, on the deepest levels, totally isolated, totally alone.
Lonely.
You don't believe there's really anyone else you can call.
Mm-hmm.
And you do not believe that if you were to fail, if you were to actually reach your limit and fail, that there would be anyone else there to catch you.
That's not a good feeling.
It's not a good feeling. We're all so normalized to it that we don't know it's not a good feeling. But it's basically our deepest fear, and it's our permanent anxiety as men.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that I've lived my whole life. So to go through an experience where and by the way, we're enraged by it. That's another thing that every one of you needs to clock. And whether you believe me or not, trust me, you're wrong. I'm right on this one. We are deeply enraged by our self-reliance, by our permanent self-reliance. You might have locked it away in a box that you can't find, but it's there.
Yeah, we're wired to be in a community, not out in the savannah by ourselves.
Right.
It's scary.
And every lick of self-reliance we have, and the stronger it gets, it's built on more repressed resentment that we cannot be cared for.
Yeah, that's the way you put it. Repressed resentment. That's spot on.
And so, when I got the chance to completely let that lid off, to an extent that I've never been able to safely do to that extent, and to an exhausting extent, we're also like, it's like day 2 at like 11,000 feet, right?
No oxygen, I know.
I live in New England. I live like up like a couple hundred feet above sea level. I was a childhood asthmatic, and I went like all the way. So by the way, I also like had an asthma attack while that was going on, but that was actually part and parcel. That was actually a good thing, by the way.
And there's a bunch of dust coming up and shit too. Like,
right. It looked like Wile E. Coyote, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And then what happens is, whoa, I am completely spent. I'm completely exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
My force was met by other men.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now collapsing because I'm just smoked. And also,
you had a lot You had a lot of power too. Like Traver and I were trying to use our best jiu-jitsu to keep you in place. And at some point I stepped back and was like, I'm letting Traver take over. And as you two are locking horns, and he's like, bring it. I got you. Bring it. And you were strong. Like some shit was coming out of you. It was impressive.
Oh, it felt so good. And so our strength, that strength that says we can only rely on ourselves, I can tell you this from my own bones. It wants to be tested. It wants to meet a loving barrier, a brother barrier. It doesn't want to lose, right? It doesn't want to be destroyed, but it wants to be able to sink its teeth in till it can't sink it in anymore. And there's that power there.
Yep.
But then, guys, strength, softness, and structure.
Yes.
And then when I was totally spent, totally over, and Miles and Traver absorbed as much as I could give, and I collapsed, then the men, I think like almost 10 of you guys, basically created a hammock out of their arms and held my smoked body.
Yeah. We rocked you.
And we rocked me.
You. We a slight hum.
And I got to basically rest in a way that my mind, body, and heart hasn't trusted resting. I don't know, since I was 3, 4, or 5.
Isn't that amazing?
Right? Mm-hmm. Just talk about standing down, talking about putting the military off for a minute, right? Talking about trusting that we are truly in peacetime, that the war has been won, or that at least I'm now off the battlefield, right?
Yep.
And in this period of time, my job is done, and I can trust my brothers to hold me and protect me.
Yep.
And by the way, real healing, for example, of a wound, physical wound, takes rest. The body has to stop. It has to rest. It has to say, we need time to heal the laceration or the bullet wound or the concussion. It's like the body says, we need to turn off safely for a while so that we can fucking rebuild this piece of us.
Yep.
That was kind of like what it was for, very much for like my heart and my psyche. I got to turn off completely. I got to finally stand down. Mm-hmm. I rested in a way that no massage or float tank ever actually allowed me to rest, because I got to rest in the arms of my brothers and community and feel utterly safe.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it's like I needed the lesson on that visceral of a level to actually trust that I can be helped by other men and other people. That I can trust that, like, like you go doing something with some guys, you're like, yeah, Miles will do his part, but you're also like, let me double check his work. Let me, like there's always that part of you in the background that's like, I'm not going to fully surrender control to that guy because I have to be ultimately bottom line ready. And there's a logic to that, but there's also a prison to that.
Oh, good call. Yeah.
So even a week ago, when I led my retreat at Kripalu, my assistants, my 2 assistants, I've always trusted them, but I trust them to a level of depth that I would have never been able to trust before that exercise, Miles, where not only do I believe that they will be able to handle their portions and that I need to give it zero attention, I rather live in a world of trust where I might get occasionally burned again, like they might fail and that's okay, than live in a world where I don't trust and maybe I, quote, don't get burned, but I'm always on.
Yeah, that's stressful.
It's so stressful. And also, it doesn't work because we still get fucking burned.
Good point. It's still going to happen.
So it's like I can be a total lone wolf, be fully responsible, not trust anyone, protect myself from their failings, and then I'm permanently stressed out, permanently responsible, and those fucking things still get me.
Yeah. And
rather share the load.
If we're not smart, we'll go, oh, look, that is true. And we'll double down. I have to keep protecting.
Exactly. And I've
We're not
literally drawn a line in the sand. Like this is almost now a moral principle. It is a moral principle that I rather deal with the risk, and, quote, risk and potential poor outcome of, by extending trust, something bad happening. And in the meantime, being able to benefit from all the wonders of trust and actual relationship. I'm choosing that risk, that fear, over the, quote, assurity or comfort of permanent control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that must feel good. It was cool to watch that discharge of old shit and then just you to be able to relax. And I with everybody went through their Gestalt piece, but you especially, your eyes look different. Your body language looked different. You're just calmer. You could tell something had shifted, and this happened for a lot of the guys, but you got to be one of the first. Yeah, it was really cool. It was really, really cool to watch.
Thanks. Thank you for being, for taking in some of that energy, Miles. And then also, your further support that, guys, the reason why I'm doing jiu-jitsu is that Miles is basically like, your body liked that and it kind of knew what it was doing. And
the fuck did.
And that felt really good to hear from you. It felt really good to have that kind of, let's just say that physicality and that rawness reflected and appreciated. So thank you for that. And then also I was like, yeah, this deserves some more attention and I want more of this. And I want something in my life that jiu-jitsu is doing a lot of things right now. Like, one, I'm so low on the totem pole. Like I'm an expert in my fucking life. I'm a head of my household. Like there's all these areas where I'm the leader and the competent and the knowledgeable one. And it feels so good to be in an environment where like I am the absolute beginner. There's no, and like I get to be an absolute beginner. I'm not anonymous, but like I'm not there to be who I am in the world, right?
Yeah.
That's a super gift.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in the same way that yoga, a lot of people started doing yoga, they find it really refreshing because yoga's hard, and so you can't be in your head thinking about groceries and your to-do list, right?
No.
Jiu-jitsu is it's incredibly presencing, right? Like I get to be just in my body, no head work for 2 hours.
It's so nice.
It's so nice that way. And then the third thing is, just because I'm a nerd at this shit, some of my inner child stuff is coming up, right? Or past stuff,
totally.
like, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's the kid who, I remember it was like when I didn't get picked in middle school for the basketball team, like, or the shaming moment. So I'm getting another chance to go through physical challenges, physical anxiety, social challenges. What is it like, wow, to be a almost 41-year-old man? And when sensei corrects me, not feeling like a total shitbag or hating him, just being like, oh, got it, sensei. Yeah. Owning it, working on it, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm trying to help you. Yeah. And you can meet other guys. It's like the retreat. They're meeting you in the same way. It's like they're not trying to harm you. They're just like, no, I got you. Or we're making each other better, but we're teammates. This isn't a competition. You can go do competitions if you want to, but
I saw a piece of stand-up where this guy compared going to boxing and going to yoga, which are these two things he did at the same time, and how he's like, boxing was infinitely more therapeutic and welcoming than yoga was.
I know, because some people get competitive with yoga. It's funny. Good.
also, not only that, they get competitive. They literally think yoga is going to make them a better person. So there's already something narcissistic going on there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're missing the point with that one.
Yeah,
you can't get away with that in jiu-jitsu. You're going to get choked out. So you got to keep learning.
Right.
And it's also like, speaking of narcissists, like if you come in as a meathead or narcissist or a douchebag, you're probably not going to stay because the coach will recognize it and will say, oh, why don't you go work with Susie over there? And you're like, oh, she's 14, I'll crush her. It's like, oh, no, it's okay. It'll be fine. And he gets tapped out in like 30 seconds. And that ego never comes back to the gym, which is self-selecting. Everybody I've met in jiu-jitsu is super nice because it's like a litmus test, or they get humbled and they go, okay, teach me. And then they come back and they bring that ego down. It's beautiful. Where else do you find that?
You don't find it anywhere else. It is.
Super hard.
And it's that wonderful, and also just like, we know why, but it's also nice that juxtaposition. It's like, wow, this is a place of combat, if you will, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yet this is the highest place of friendliness and respect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of
right. How uncivilized, to quote Trevor.
Yes. That's why he loves jiu-jitsu. That's why he used to do MMA.
Yeah.
And he gets it.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
one other thing. I think there's something really valuable at a later age doing something that I'll never be the best at. I'm going to say that very specific. Maybe I will, right? But like,
you'll get better for sure.
All right, I'm going to get better. I'm going to learn it. But like, it's something that I frame as like, wow, I'm in this art. I'm in this skill. This is going to be very personal. It's like so gratifying to be doing something that has nothing to do. I'm going to get better. It's going to improve my life in 11 different areas. But it's like, this is not professional development. I'm not going to a training. I'm not going to a seminar. I'm not reading a self-help book. It has no direct correlation to X or Y. It's also something that I will can't feed my ego, because every time it's this positively humbling experience. So it's most people aren't doing that. Most people aren't putting them in a situation that's hard.
Yes.
That has no perfectly immediately concrete benefit or payout or transaction to it. So whether it's this or chess, I think it's really important that everyone have an activity in their life that has some of those qualities to it.
That's so well said. Yeah, jiu-jitsu. I'm thinking about doing archery. Cam Haynes is a big bow hunter and marathon runner here in Oregon. He's actually used to work with my sister, so I got an autographed book from him, which was pretty cool. I'd love to meet the guy at some point, but the way he talks about learning archery is you really have to be very sort of meditative. The thoughts in your mind just can't be there. You've got to focus and just reps. It's very calming to do it, but it's also really, really hard. So there's probably a similar skill set that maybe is similar to jiu-jitsu, but it's just you're not really competing with someone necessarily.
Totally. I think it's a good, and also I never get over how satisfying it is to throw or propel an object at a target or a basket and get it in. It's just absolutely ancient. It is so hardwired into our wonderful primate nervous system that's like, oh, I nailed it. You'll never get sick of nailing it.
Yeah, that's so true.
From cornhole to archery to you name it, it's just like nothing but net is what will always satisfy.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's built into our genetics for sure. I love it. What are you up to these days? You're doing workshops, coaching, retreats. When's the next book coming out? What are you doing?
I'm doing jiu-jitsu, which was also, by the way, part of being in a little bit of a period of time where I am. I think this is a Jungian thing. I think it's a mid-40s thing. I think it's a ripening thing of
midlife transition.
A midlife transition specifically organized around a different form of motivation for maybe the next half of the life, right? Whereas the grind set, the drive, I've done a lot in the last 20 years. That book you read, I wrote that. My co-author and I, we wrote that in 100 days, Miles.
Seriously?
Yeah. The publisher came along. HarperCollins was like, "You guys want to write a book on the nervous system?" And we're like, "Obs." And they're like, "Great. We didn't do any book pitching, book proposals. We were too caught up in teaching and facilitating. We were like, we'll get to a book one day, but we had no intention. But when they came along, we're like, sure. They're like, great, but we need it in 90 days. And we were like,
Okay.
let grip it and rip it, right? Let's go. So, we did, rebuilt the entire, so there's been a lot of amazing productivity and creativity, but it was also driven a lot with, I'd say, my younger coping mechanisms, nervous system skills, ways of winning. And there's a lot of push, a lot of closing down certain aspects of life to do other parts, right? And so I just want to say that, like, one thing is, again, I bring it back to jiu-jitsu, like the idea that I'm spending time doing something that doesn't necessarily have like a bottom line value exchange to it, like it's not making me money, or it's not writing the next book, is like part of this phase. It's like part of this phase is slowing down, deepening, and spreading out. And that's one thing I'm doing. And inside that, most of no plans for a book at the moment. I am teaching another retreat at Kripalu, the Center for Yoga and Health here in the Berkshires in Massachusetts. So a 3-day retreat over Martin Luther King Day weekend. It's called The Secret Language of the Body, Nervous System Immersion. It's been felt so good to get in real life with people again since, basically since COVID. So much went online, and 95% of my teaching and stuff is online. It's been so good to get back in person.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Been running the HEAL program. So we didn't even talk about this, but like my main work in this space is healing chronic pain and chronic illness. I've become a nervous system and trauma specialist in service of that, of getting people unsick. And so we do that with our HEAL program online. And anything else right now? No, man, trying to like set the cruise control a little slower, let things build. And I'm sure there's going to be another big expression of work, but right now it's the book, it's an online program, teaching some in real life stuff. I'm doing Dewey and Michael are coming out here to lead a men's weekend with Connor in September. I'm going to that because it's 30 minutes from my house. I can't not do it, right?
Sheffield, is that what
That's right, Sheffield. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's more investment in myself, more connecting with my brothers, and men's work.
Yeah, just going back to the Jungian, it sounds like you're getting to that sort of midlife transition where a lot of men and women, it's a crisis because the ego is still in control, and they divorce, get the trophy wife, get the Porsche, and it works for about 90 days, and then they're back in hell. You're not doing that, which is cool. Jung had a cool quote, something like the first half of life is like putting on personas to find out who we are, and the second half of life is taking them off to find out who we really are. I love that. And you think you're taking them off. Like, who am I really? I don't care about the ego pursuits. I'm in jiu-jitsu and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like this is who I am. Like, and you're just listening to that. And that's what we're supposed to do. And the ego hates it. The ego is like, have security. No, you need to stay in the job. You fear, ego, cling. Be famous. That doesn't work so well for your whole life. Like the first half of life, that's kind of what we're trying to do to find out who we think we are, but then we have to lay that down. And that's the midlife crisis and or transition, depending on
that speaks so perfectly to right now. Because what is the oscillation? The oscillation is between what you just described, where it's like jiu-jitsu, and it's sort of also being in a place where I'm trusting the things that I've created, that they need to be tended to, they need to grow. But then there's this other part of me, and it feels less mature. It feels more anxious, although it does have a lot of intoxicating energy to it, that it's like, no, bro, like you need to be on like these TED stages now. You need to go find these like, you need to go make sure that the HEAL program is like AI superpowered and yada, 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 yada. And or like no, like there, you need to double your income now, right? So that's the oscillation. The oscillation is into that sort of old egoic ambition, which also is associated with security, by the way, right?
For sure.
In the same way that before I associated pure self-reliance on security versus trust, I also associate security, especially in terms of the material realm, on the ego-driven ambition. And now there's this transition is, can I trust that the more authentic being can provide the security? And is there a way to grow at a different pace, impact at a deeper and even bigger level, but not using the same sort of rocket fuel of the previous phase?
That's so true. I think it was a lot of guys or women, people in general. It gets cross-mogenated there. Like the psyche starts pushing you to find out who you really are, and doesn't give a fuck how you get there. And it gives you that energy, like, hey, you need to live, motherfucker. Like you've been playing small, or you've been doing whatever. This job is shit. This is a corporate job you hate. You need to go fucking live. And the ego comes in and goes, cool, let's buy a motorcycle and go real fast. And that's living, and the psyche's like, yeah, this feels good, but we're probably going to die. So like, you have to listen further. Like, is this really what wants to come through me onto the earth? What's my calling in life? And it's hard and it takes time, and the ego doesn't like that. It wants it now. So you like, to your point about slowing down the nervous system, it's the same idea. You have to slow down and listen and not get freaked out if it doesn't happen right away. And it does oscillate, like you said, like you're going to go back and forth, and that's normal. But I think if you listen at some point, you have an intuitive hit about that you're going in the right direction. But it's hard. It's really hard, especially our society where it's like so goal driven.
Totally. You know what makes it easier?
Ketamine?
What?
Ketamine?
Oh, there's this hilarious guy who's doing memes right now about like making fun of like bro and like Bitcoin podcasters, and he goes, yeah, how about AI infused forest bathing on ketamine?
I want to watch that happen.
Yeah, I'll send you that. No, I actually what makes it easier is being around like Deweys, especially being around elder men, or at least men that are a little further along than me, that have that seasoning, have that maturity. Like all men, I think, crave agency and a sense of personal power.
For sure.
But if they don't see an option that's like Mr. Miyagi,
right?
Everyone looks at Mr. Miyagi. Everyone looks at Gandalf. Everyone looks at the wise one. Who does not watch one of those films and not wish as a boy or as a man that we had that elder teacher, right?
I want fucking Yoda in my life. Yeah,
exactly. We all want it. And the one that we look to is that. That's what we instinctively, our little boy hearts, look to that, our man hearts, and say, that's what feels congruent and right for me. But it does not exist for most people, and they definitely don't have a real access to it in another flesh and blood man. And so what's left is let's just say disorganized, disintegrated, more violent, more flashy, more materialistic, more shallow, more gross, more big, all the, like you said, the midlife crisis, the fast car, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a sensei that shows your wonderful man self what's possible, what you could mature into, you don't know how to get there. And that's really true. I want all the guys to hear this. We said it's self-led healing, like we have to discover how to ride the bike. But we also always have someone who shows us that riding a bike is possible.
Yeah.
Right? There is a certain amount of guidance and leadership, mentorship, caring. when you don't have a living flesh and blood role model, and they're never perfect, don't expect them to be perfect. They're not perfect. They're not perfect. They're not perfect. Just so you know, they're not perfect. Okay. And
Caveat emptor.
Yeah, and if you reject them because they're not perfect, you're never gonna fucking get there either. Okay.
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
And if you don't have that beacon to let yourself know that you could move that way, not only do you not know you can't, you just won't. And so then all there is the midlife crisis and the vacuum of materialism and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's true that men's work came into my life exactly when I needed it most, which was, by the way, a little year and a half ago, not even that long ago, Miles, where if I did not get extended a demonstration of what's possible, less ego, more maturity, more grounding, more like that kind of sensei style Aikido power of like groundedness in the versions of Connor Beaton, Michael Gay, obviously Dewey Freeman being the right, and Traver. If I didn't get these men, who?
And Dave Boyd, he's
right, and exactly, and David. So I was like, whoa. Then I would not be, I think, in the slightly more in the midlife transition instead of the midlife crisis. And so that's one of the things that makes it easier and makes it possible. And so find those men, guys.
So huge. Yeah, we don't have a men's initiation. We don't have, that's a lost art form. You know, women sort of have a biological inbuilt system to tell them they're women. It's called the first time they have their period. We don't really have that. I don't even know what we have biologically, weird stuff, but nothing like that. It's like, okay, we're now a man. It's like, we could be perpetual boys if we're not, and that we see that. And
most of us are. I think that north of 97% of men are perpetual boys.
Still the inner child. This is called the puer aeternus in Jungian terms, the eternal youth or Peter Pan syndrome. And we need like you said, the elder to help us become initiated. Hence why these guys that you just named are so great, because it's hard to find. I don't know a whole lot of people like this doing men's work proper, where this is what's happening. There are some guys out there doing stuff on like attachment or psychological stuff, or like psychologists in my field was more about working with people. It's not really about initiating men into manhood.
You need both.
And so you do need both, 100%. Yeah, 100%. But to find, I'd hope more of these guys spring up, and hopefully one day we'll be those like bearded dudes like Gandalf with our staff and running around like fighting Sauron and shit or whatever. But
I don't know why I want to say this right now. I think it's because it's built off what you just said. The two best somatic books, but by far the best somatic book on men's work is G.S. Youngblood's The Masculine in Relationship. G.S. Youngblood, The Masculine in Relationship. I read that book, and first off, by the way, I'm an extraordinarily good author and writer. I really am.
Yeah, I read the book. I read your book.
And so, thank you. And so, I have a very high bar, and also extraordinary appreciation for people who are good at the craft. And I read GS's book, and I was like, I'm jealous of this book. This guy is extraordinarily good, and it's also very masculine in terms of its what do we say at the Men's Street? Masculine brevity is masculine, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
He's direct to the point. You get it. And his practices really work. And so that book is a great way for embodying the masculine as part of this larger journey. And I think the second one would be John Wineland's From the Core. Those are really good somatic books, embodied books to complement, Traver's on Civilized Nation, Connor's men's work. Those are really good ones. I just want to mention them.
Very good. Yeah, Traver is nice enough to let me have an advanced copy of his 28 Days in the Dark book. He's coming on the podcast in a couple of weeks. Speaking of good writers, like, that's a fucking really good book. He has a lot of good books that are short, like this. this guy put a lot of work into it.
Oh, I can't wait.
And
I'm
we'll
jealous.
see. You'll see if he passes your litmus test of good reading.
Oh no! Now you're going to mention this on the podcast with him, and then we'll see what happens. Well, I'll get my copy soon.
Yeah, it's pre-order. It's out the end of this month, but it's phenomenal. He's a brave soul, and he just got out of a 49-day one, and he did 28 days before, and that's what the book is about. But yeah, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Closing thoughts. We're going to violate the brevity is masculine if we don't land the airplane soon. I could talk to you for like 4 hours easily, but
we'll do it again. I also don't want to be late to Jiu-Jitsu.
That's important.
It is. Final thoughts. Yep. Miles, we covered some really good shit in this episode. And
I agree.
I don't want to. The final thought is like, guys, take something fucking serious and actionable from what we talked about here. Like really, any one of the main topics we talked about could have an enormous impact on the rest of your life. So that's it. Listen to this again. Find out which detail jumped out at you the most. And also, you're totally welcome, guys, to DM me on Instagram. Just my name, Karden Rabin. I'm always responding. And so if something came out for you here, this is my life's work. I'm here to support you. And we'll do this together.
Hell yeah. Where do people go if they want to sign up for your workshops and such?
So yeah, following at Instagram, but then also Somia International, the name of my company with my co-founder Jennifer's Somia, SOM as in Mary, IA, like the body, Soma, somiainternational.com, and things are always listed there. We also have Somia International, the Instagram handle, and those two places are definitely the best to be kept in the know.
Cool. And so if anybody has any questions about this podcast, they can just DM you it on your page.
Just DM me at Karden Rabin, on Insta. My email, what is it? Karden at somiainternational.com. So I got an email too, but we do this together. So I'm happy to have someone be in touch.
Great. I can't wait for round 2. It's going to be dope.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah. Well, Miles, it's been a pleasure.
I really appreciate you. You're doing good stuff. All right, go choke someone out.